What's made of glass, covered in dust, and won't be used this Christmas? George Floyd's crack pipe. Hi guys, Griff here. Yeah, fuck, it's all happening again, innit? I think I'm gonna branch out of this podcast wars business back to the sort of stuff I used to do before. It's fucking too depressing. Yeah, I wrote that joke a while back, and usually on Facebook, right? I'd think of something, I'll put it on there, and think, oh fuck it, don't worry too much about the backlash. Sometimes do it to wind some of my sort of more politically correct friends up or whatever. Do you know what I mean? But I'm only friends with people on Facebook I know, so usually just put what I want. Do you know what I mean? One come up my memories yesterday, was it that awkward moment when you bump into your babysitter when you both go to sign the sex offenders register? Jokes, yeah. But with that George Floyd one, because of the climate at the time, I thought, do you know what? If I put that up, it could be completely misconstrued and I could get myself in a right pickle. Because at the time, it would have probably been, oh my God, that's fucking racist. Now, you take George Floyd out of that joke and you put in a white person, in the same situation, a white crackhead, and the joke is still the same joke, So the fact that George Floyd was black was completely irrelevant. It was to me anyway. And it was a sort of adaptation of the famous, for want of a better word, Frankie Boyle joke. What's pink and dusty and won't be used this Christmas? Madeleine McCann's bike. Now, he told that joke, publicly. And my thinking was, I bet he'd say the Madeleine McCann one, but I bet he wouldn't say the George Floyd one. So really, you're allowed to take the piss out of an almost certainly dead child, an almost certainly murdered child, a very possibly abused child. But you're not allowed to take the piss out of, a crackhead, really. Murder victim, I think legally the term is, but he's probably killed when he... Yeah, so it just goes to show the sort of climate. So I'm not a fan of all this political correctness, basically. And I did stand up a few times myself. And I've always thought with comedy that you should be able to say what you want, but there are repercussions for it as well, There's this VideoCraig thing going on now, right? And I got very mixed feelings about it. He's been making videos about Decca, and then it's came out that he battered a friend of his years ago. Was dealt with by the police. Him and his friend are sort of, the victim. They're friendly again now, so she's forgiven him. So he's obviously getting a lot of shit for that. But then another video came out of his stand-up routine where he told a joke about the two girls that Ian Huntley killed. And it didn't make me laugh, It was one of those, whoa, type reactions, do you know what I mean? But he's getting a lot of sort of stick for it now, but you shouldn't have a joke about that, and maybe technically you shouldn't. I don't know, as I say, I got mixed feelings. But when it comes, he did it on a stage as a stand-up comedian, And the repercussions for that, if you tell jokes that not enough people find funny, you won't be a stand-up comedian for long, Because I think, as much as I thought, oh, that's nasty, that's fucking grim, and I didn't find it funny. So as much as to me it was like, right, I probably won't go and watch him. Also, where do you draw the line, Because everybody's line is in a different place, isn't it? You know, Ricky Gervais explains it far better than me. You know, you can joke about anything. It's like, you know, what's the intent? And, you know, obviously he was just trying to shock. And I did stand up, right, myself. I only did it 3 times. It fucking won for me. Partly because it just made me too nervous. And partly because of the climate that was developing at the time, about 7-8 years ago, where friends of mine who were doing stand-up were getting all sorts of fucking grief from like feminist fucking militia groups and, you know, all this sort of, well, the seeds of communism really were coming, weren't they, you know? It's like, you know, any sane human being knows that everybody's equal, everybody's sexuality is their own business. You know, if people are male, they want to identify as female, that's fucking down to them. But, you know, I'm all for equality, but it's when people start wanting special treatment at the expense of everybody else, that's when it gets a bit ridiculous for me. You know, my personal belief, right, like with the trans sort of thing going on now, I think probably about 2% of them are genuine, you know, genuine, some sort of mental issue where they really have been born into their body and their mind are completely incompatible from a sort of gender point of view. And I think a lot of the rest are made up of, like, you know, attention seekers, mentally ill people. You know, people who've realised at a young age, oh, this is a way of getting noticed, you know, where I could never get noticed before. You know, so I think the hangers on to these sort of things give the whole thing a bad name. Yeah, that's my point. You know, it's like with feminism, the original feminists, yeah, you know, back in the 60s or 70s, it was like, right, some of us now, we just want to go to fucking work if we want to work. Can we just stop normalising the fact that our husbands are beating us up? You know, can we have just like equal rights and fucking make some decisions in our lives? You know, of course you can. Do you know what I mean? And now I do believe that, you know, things are pretty equal, you know, generally between the sexes. You know, there's some disadvantages to being a woman, some disadvantages to being a man. But I do think things are, you know, and I'm speaking as a father of 3 daughters. You know, I think things are pretty equal in terms of the sexes. But then there'll be like this extremist feminist militia now, you know, they're just sort of anti-men really, rather than pro-women. Do you know what I mean? And they'll jump in with the mental aspects of the trans community, and then it's not a case of, right, we want equality, then it's then a case of, right, we want to tell every other fucker what to do now. Do you know what I mean? As I say, there's people far better equipped to explain these sort of things. This is what I find difficult. I watch all these things and I got all these opinions, and in my head I can explain them to myself, but trying to say it out loud in a way that actually explains what I'm thinking, I always struggle with that. I end up sort of going around the houses all over the shop. So yeah, going back to this, what's his name, VideoCraig. I'm seeing all these comments all over the place now, sort of slagging him off and blah blah blah. You know, the fact he told that joke doesn't make him a paedophile, it just makes him a bad comedian. Do you know what I mean? I think that's the thing that people aren't realising. Doesn't mean, you know, I don't know who he is, what he's like. He may be a complete fucking twisted psycho fucking nonce, and if so, let's fucking shoot him. But he may just be a bad comedian who thought, I know what I'll do, I'll try and shock. I'll try and think of the most shocking things that I can do. As I said, I did comedy 3 times, and I think I was a bit, you know, guilty of like trying to shock. You know, I was trying to write stuff and it was just like, oh, just trying to be as out there as possible, as out there as possible. And I think it's only with experience of being a comedian that your sort of writing would improve, and you'd realise, fuck, the stuff I used to do before was fucking bullshit. You know, I wrote what some people could deem nonce-related material. It was based on, like, a bit of truth, right? At the time, my youngest daughter was about 3, right? And I used to take her to nursery. I used to push her in the buggy, walk her to the nursery, and I couldn't leave the buggy there. So I had to walk home with the buggy, and the buggy be empty. And what happened, like lots of times, yeah, people said to me, I'd be walking down the street, pushing an empty buggy. Somebody would look at my buggy and go, "Oh, you've lost your baby." And I'd be like, "Yeah." Oh, you know, and I go, "Oh, God, where's she gone?" And it happened like lots and lots of times, do you know what I mean? And that was it. You know, in reality, that was it. Yeah, it's just about 5 times people said, "You lost your baby," and I'd have to laugh as if it was the first time I'd heard it. That's what happened in reality, right? So when I'm sitting down trying to write comedy now, then in my head it goes, you know, it goes further, doesn't it? So the bit I wrote for the comedy was, take my daughter to nursery, I gotta push this buggy around all the time. People are saying to me, "You've lost your baby." I make out it's happening on a fucking daily basis, whereas I say it happened about 5 times in a year. And I'm getting fed up with it and getting really wound up about it, you know, in the comedy bit I wrote. I get really fed up with it. I'm fed up with people fucking saying to me, "You lost your baby." It's not funny anymore, do you know what I mean? So I decided, right, the next time somebody says it to me, they're having it. So I go into that, in the joke, for want of a better word, I go into the shop. I'm in Sainsbury's, I think, near my daughter's nursery, you know, to make the story work in my head. The woman in the shop says to me, "Oh, I got the empty buggy." The woman in the shop says, "Oh, you've lost your baby." And I say to the woman, "No, I'm a dangerous, predatory paedophile, and I'm out looking for careless parents." Now, when I said this joke in a gig I put on, a lot of the people there were my friends, yeah, so it may have helped, but it got a laugh. Do you know what I mean? You know, I don't know what's the difference between that and this other fucking idiot's joke. I suppose he was talking about specific people, specific children, you know, who I don't know the case extremely well, but I presume that they were like abused, you know, before they were murdered and everything else, you know, God knows what happened to them. And it was obviously fucking awful, do you know what I mean? You know, now in my scenario, it's like all hypothetical, there's no actual real people involved. Does it make it any different? I don't know. But when I'm looking through all some of the comments I'm reading, you know, maybe it's the demographic of people who watch podcast wars related stuff, you know. Maybe it's not the brightest bunch. I've always said the far right and the far left are just the fucking same. Do you know what I mean? The fucking far right and the far left is just as fucked up as each other. And, you know, so how would that, you know, would people be able to think, "Oh, right, it's like a joke." And the joke, you know, the joke is not, "Oh, paedophilia is funny." The joke is, "Oh, this bloke is just so pissed off with people saying the same old fucking joke to him about his empty buggy that he said something to fucking freak their heads out because he's fed up with people saying, 'Oh, you've lost your baby.'" You know, that's the joke. But if people are hearing it, we have to explain the joke to them. You know, some people's like, "Oh, it said the word paedophile. Fuck. That, can't joke about that." You know. Like Ricky Gervais explains, you could joke about anything. It's just all about the intent of the joke, you know? And it requires, don't get me wrong, not much, but it requires a little bit of fucking intelligence and nuanced thinking to be able to not react to one word and decide, "Oh." But I still think that VideoCraig's fucking material was awful. You know, which is probably why he's not doing stand-up anymore. So, yeah, so because he said that joke, doesn't make him a nonce. It just makes him a fucking very, very poor comedian. But coupled with the fact that it's come out now about him fucking hurting that girl pretty badly, you know, he's gonna get it fucking full fucking force now, isn't he? So yeah, it's a strange one with the old comedy, you know, because I'm an advocate for free speech. As I say, you know, even if something is completely fucking, like his comment, his joke, for want of a better word, you know, it's not nice, it's horrible, and it doesn't make you want to laugh, you know, all that shit, you know what I mean? Which is why, you know, he wouldn't be in comedy long doing that sort of stuff. But I always think, right, but if he's not allowed to say that, then what's the next person's line going to be? You know, all right, we could all agree, maybe, that joke's unacceptable. Okay, fair enough. So we say, right, you're not allowed to say that. Somebody else could say that my joke I just said just now is not acceptable. Okay, you're not allowed to say that. Then somebody could turn around and say, right, somebody makes a joke about a car crash. Somebody then could turn around and say, oh, hang on, my mate died in the car crash. All right, we can't joke about car crashes anymore. Okay. All right, let's talk about peanut allergies. Oh, no, somebody comes along. No, my cousin died, peanut allergy. All right, we can't joke about that. You know, and any joke under the sun, you know, in the end, there's nothing left to fucking say, is there? Do you know what I mean? Which is a little bit like it's becoming in the comedy world, from what I can gather. You know, and don't get me wrong, there's some very good comedians who just, you know, who don't have to push any boundaries or whatever, you know, and they're funny. But as I say, they'll cross, you know, even the most harmless of comedians, to me, are probably crossing somebody else's line. So yeah, dangerous game. All still going off with old Hagler, Decarini Hagler. Tell you what I noticed, but it was quite funny. There's been a thing going on with that sort of business where people have been trying to affiliate themselves, accidentally or otherwise, with the hardest people they can think of, you know, in order to scare the opposition, if you like. It started off with when fucking Swanson and Decker's thing came out, where they were plotting about James English's phone. And then, oh Christ, what's that guy's name? The Scottish guy. Paul Ferris, is it? He came out, I seen on Twitter, and he's like, there's going to be some fucking repercussions if anything comes out about anybody who happens to be in English's fucking phone book. And he's been on James English about 3 times, you know, and he's a proper, I don't know what the word is, what's the polite word? Mr. Ferris, what would you like me to call you? But he's proper, and you know, he's one of these people that you don't want to fuck with him, do you know what I mean? So that come out, and then Decker put a video up then, with some guy who's loosely affiliated to Charles Salvador, formerly Charles Bronson. Big up Charles, big fan, got lots of bucks here. And this guy, I think he was a driver, I think, for Charles's ex-wife. And he was coming on defending Decker, making a point of letting the connection with Charles Salvador be known. And I even think that in the background there was a picture of Charles Salvador on the wall. And obviously Decker's, you know, aligned with Mr. Joyce and that. So people are like, oh Christ, bit wary of fucking with Decker because he's affiliated with these guys who are pretty fucking pretty out there, do you know what I mean? You wouldn't want to cross them. And then Decker's got this little link to Charles Bronson, Charles Salvador, you know, through that other guy's video. You got English in that, they got the link to Mr. Ferris, and I don't know, where's that going to end? It'll be like, you know, Decker will be bringing out a video. Him and Mike Tyson are mates, do you know what I mean? And then fucking Karma Corner will be like, yeah, well, I'm mates with Godzilla now, and it's like, Deck will come back, yeah, well, I'm in with fucking Hitler's grandson. And then it'll be like the other team will come back, and they'll be like, oh, what's that? My phone's telling me I'm running out of time, am I? I am. See you later.